You're quite welcome. Thank you for all of your creativity that you lend to the craft. How are you today? Nice to see you.
I'm doing pretty good. It's nice and warm in here.
Oh yeah.
Sun's out. You know, the normal mustache sweat.
You know, it's funny. You can't see my mustache sweat, and the reason why I didn't mention this yet. The reason why I'm wearing a mask, ladies and gentlemen, is because I have kind gentlemen workers coming in and out of my apartment right now, fixing the leak in my kitchen. But the show must go on like it does every day at noon, so we're just gonna charge right through and continue on with the regular show. And I'm excited because today's topic is wardrobe, clothing, things.
Yeah, my favorite.
But your favorite thing ever. Now,
Almost.
now, Sha, I met you on set. I met you in the movies when we was making a movie.
Yes.
And that was like years ago. This is how many? My 6, 7 years? I don't know. It's been a while.
4 or 5 years? No,
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
gotta be more than that.
It was like 3 weeks ago. It was
Yeah.
like 2 days ago.
Yeah. I just saw you. We were just doing that thing.
Wait, what was your name again?
Old age has kicked in.
It's totally kicked in. Now let's let our audience in on what you do in the movies.
Worked most of them. So you could exclusively be a shopper where you buy the clothes, or wardrobe, like an on-set wardrobe where you go with the actors and babysit the clothes. I think, was it, I forget her name on Instagram. She's been making all those videos, the on-set videos.
Uh-huh.
Is it Amy Joe or something? But yeah, so basically we don't let our actors eat.
Yeah, because they'll just mess their shit up. I am totally guilty of, like, even if I'm not acting or something, I will just. Yeah, it's so important to not get mustard on your shirt or ketchup or mustard.
Yeah, it's you oftentimes forget that this is like, I'm at work. This is a special thing. Oh, we're gonna stand very still and be
Yeah.
hungry and
Don't
dehydrated.
Now your job is it's like so detail oriented because you've got to like get it looks the same as it did in the shot before. There's so many
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's collars. You're just staring at the monitor to make sure the collar looks right. I like to make friends with camera,
Yeah.
or like people around camera, so that they'll be like, "Hey, Shy, you weren't paying attention. Come help your to just hang out by camera." And
That's a really pro tip. Always be friends with the people who might get mad. Friends with camera, make friends with the actors, because being a set photographer, everyone's mad at you all the time. So you just got to make sure that
yeah, we gotta hide our secrets. You
yeah,
can't.
we're
Yeah.
gonna divulge. I'm stealing secrets for the opposing teams. That takes place in like the 90s or something, or the 2000s. Now, how do you figure out how to dress somebody who's from those times? Because I would just lose my mind.
So it's really hard to purchase clothes. It's depending on what is popular. Like I know acid wash was really in for a while, and we did some. What are those places called? On the weekends, they'll have like these big. I don't want to say. What are those places that sell food? It's like
Restaurants.
fresh groceries. But anyway, there's like these big markets on the weekends. I'm losing all my words.
Yeah.
Where you can go and shop for clothes, like used clothes. You can try. But I've noticed in a lot of period, I don't want to say period, but like 80s, 90s, 70s recently, that everybody's just in skinny jeans. Like there's no differentiating anymore, because a
Yeah.
lot of
That I was definitely a guilty party of. Ron Perty asks, okay, so the mask. Now let me just masks because on account of the, for good reasons. So this is not just a gimmick. I'm not afraid of Sha that I have to wear a mask. Excellent guest, and she's also a fan of the show, a friend to the show, and you all know her in the chats, and I'm excited to have her talk about movies. That's like one of the places I love to go. And I definitely did that.
Off Instagram.
Oh, Instagram might be slowing down a little bit, but that's okay. Instagram is, Instagram is for the kids.
Thing.
You know, it's funny how Instagram just keeps adopting all the different features from all of the other platforms.
Yeah.
It's very much, it was like, Facebook was like, get out of here, MySpace, I'm Facebook. And then Facebook was like, uh-oh, we got to call back Shy. But Facebook was like, get out of here, MySpace, I'm Facebook. And then Instagram came along, and then Facebook was like, now I'm Instagram. Ding, ding, ding.
All right.
All right, we're back. It's just two of me. Look, it's like multiplicity.
Yes.
Look, it's pretty funny right now.
What happened last time too? I was like, I can't see myself. That must be how Skype works. No questions. Just
and now it's doing all the TikTok things. So there's nothing that Facebook doesn't want to just acquire and do.
If you got the money, I guess.
Yeah, they have almost all of the money. They have almost. Jen reminds us that flea markets were what we were looking for.
Oh, that's what they're called. I forget.
When's the last time?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, when's the last time you went to a flea market? It's been.
Was it on Lifetime or something? I don't know. It was like produced by. Wow, I can't remember anything now that my
was that with
on.
Corey Feldman and Corey Haim?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched that show.
Yeah, and we went to shoot around his face.
Was it Corey Feldman?
It wasn't. It was this. I forget his name, but he was like a supposed maybe son of, rumored as, and we're just like, just get in the here.
Yeah.
Let's just put you in clothes, deal with it.
And they danced like Michael Jackson, exactly like Michael Jackson.
No.
Have you seen me do the? I could do all the Michael Jacksons. I could do them all. I did this one. Dance.
I like, a little sweep of hair right here. My mom's like, "What are you doing? Don't do that. People are gonna judge you." And I'm like, "Well, Michael Jackson has one, so."
There's nothing wrong with that. That's cool.
Yeah, but the flea markets are a good resource. Hoarder status. And everyone does it though, because that's how all the stylists who do like vintage clothes, they'll go to flea markets on the weekends and sell their stuff online. So there's a lot of competition.
And does that become a problem?
Don't care. Get gifted clothes that they love. Usually it's not a big deal. I have 31 boxes of just extra wardrobe because they didn't keep the clothes and nobody bought it, and I didn't want to throw it away, so I just kept them for background.
Well, that's cool because you can recycle those, I guess, and just keep using them. Yeah, because I wonder about that.
So a typical day for wardrobe is you get there early. And then you steam all the clothes. All the clothes are washed the night before. They're either dry cleaned or laundered.
Yeah.
By hand or machine yourself, or depending on how busy you are, you set up. But you pick out all the clothes for all the setups and stuff. So you make sure you have that. But then you go put the clothes in the room and you wait for your actors to get dressed. Sometimes they need help. Sometimes they need encouragement.
They need help getting dressed, some of these actors. It's true. I've seen this.
Sometimes, I don't want to belittle anybody, but I've been friends with some actors and we'll be hanging out. They'll be like, tie my shoe. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's funny. They're like, I can't do this by myself.
But it's also, I think it's also hard for them, too, because you're constantly changing in and out of clothes. And also, if you have jewelry, so who remembers to take off earrings 5 times in a row?
Right.
Um,
That's
but
true.
generally, it's
So,
very just like I'm obsessed with clothes all day.
well, if they're in a scene, that kind of like that would stress me out.
I don't know that I've had anyone do that to me.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, not between, which is jewelry is always the hardest to remember.
Yeah. Well, so in a movie, uh, Veronica, my sister is asking why I'm masked. Yes, if we can. I'll just remind everybody there are kind workers coming in and out and fixing the burst pipe in my kitchen. So
The
yeah,
coronavirus has evolved.
the coronavirus has evolved. Run, everybody, run! I'm trying to do my best Tom Hardy eyeball acting. It's working.
It's working.
Um, when you're doing a movie, right? And there's like different the person's just wearing one set of clothing through the whole movie, but it gets dirtier throughout. Now, this is something like, say, the movie Die Hard, right? When the beginning of the movie, Bruce Willis has got a white tank top on, and by the end of the movie, it's just soot. It's covered. It's torn. It's distressed, as it were. Like, how do you keep track of all that?
So that takes a little bit more effort. What happens is during the production meeting is like you and the director and whoever else decide in the script the phases. So like during these scenes, this is phase 1. During these scenes is phase 2. And each phase it gets dirtier and dirtier. And so for phase 1, you could have like 3 identical tank tops that are distressed the same way. Or, it could be any number, but 2 and 3 is like minimum. And
87.
then 87 preferred. And the older they are, the lower the.
Or
No, I just
oh,
watched the V-neck go lower and
thr-
lower as
throughout
the
the series.
seasons. Yeah.
See, that's something I would not notice, but that's interesting. I will keep an eye out for dipping deep V's, as it were. So then you have 3 sets of identical for one phase of the script. And now when you're
Right.
going to like how do you determine how distressed it gets? So the director comes through and approves everything, or how does that work?
Well, usually, yes. So, like, you'll be in regular contact with the director, and you'll send him photos as you're working on distressing the clothes. And then, like, of course, you're going to have multiples of these tank tops or whatever to work on if you're not well versed in how to distress. Like, there's different ways to stain and different methods so that, like, it
Do you
stains
use
permanent.
do you use coffee? I heard about
Coffee
that.
is a good one. Yes, I've
Then
used
all of
coffee.
my clothes are pre-distressed because I spill coffee
Yeah,
all the time.
it's okay. You live in LA. We don't judge.
It's totally fine.
We do,
What
but we
what are some other ways you ruin clothing?
don't. I use like a metal brush
Yeah.
sometimes because you don't want the holes to look so neatly cut.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you just learn how to use scissors in different ways to where it looks like a natural um, distressing. In school, we used metal brushes to distress wool and like denim fabrics for like a raised, I don't know, it was not my project, but but I learned a lot on how to do things to fabrics that are already finished.
Yeah. Where did you go to school?
I went to the Academy of Art. So mass merchandised, I can't like
Yeah.
morally contribute to that
What would
cycle.
you so what would you want to contribute to in fashion? Is that a dream of yours to follow?
Just drawing, like I love drawing, and I think my parents were like, no more naked girls. Like
You need to put
you
clothes
know,
on them.
yeah, like their Chinese families are somewhat homophobic. They're not all homophobic. And then from there, it was, battling what my parents wanted versus what I wanted.
Right.
And studio art, sorry. I love painting. I was going to study, but my mom was like, I don't want my daughter to be the girl who draws naked people having sex. So I was like, fashion it is.
That's kind of hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
You're an artist. They were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna pick the art for you. Now, how do you? Sorry, we lost Shy again. I guess her parents canceled her on that. Hang on a second. We're gonna call Shy back. I think I still have you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's all good. They might be back. Look at this. Trimmed it a little. I should. There it is.
Now I see the full volume.
So Shy, you were drawing naked ladies.
Yeah.
And your parents were like, "No, we don't want you drawing naked ladies anymore."
Because I had to design according to my teacher's preferences, and I'm not like a hardcore high humanity.
Why is it? Are you talking about like couture or like?
Just high fashion industry in general. You should be able to eat. He's like, yeah, I have to eat in secret now.
I eat like pretty much every day.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, I don't know where he was working, but he was interning, I think, at a pretty, I couldn't believe that was one of his stories. He was just like, I can't. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm so stressed out. Because it is very competitive.
I heard a story recently that models, I don't know if I'm saying in order to keep their nice figure.
Isn't that supposed to be bad for you, eating cotton balls?
I imagine, I've never tried it. However, just my common sense says that eating cotton balls soaked in orange juice is it's not the best diet plan.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very weird. You might as well just go with bulimia and just call it a day. Like, don't stress out about it. It'll come up.
It's funny. Bulimia is no laughing matter. However, it's if you're gonna pick one,
Right.
eating disorder,
like you're gonna have an eating disorder regardless. You gotta pick wisely.
right?
No, but
true.
don't. Yeah, seek help if you have an eating disorder. That's not kind to yourself.
Lest anyone think we're making light of severe eating disorders that could cause like interminable health crises and potential death. We're not. We're just saying how absurd it is that you would choose to eat cotton balls soaked in orange juice. It doesn't even sound tasty. Doesn't even sound delicious.
Yeah, no.
Although I might want to start like a diet plan, like like the West Coast, the Los Feliz diet.
It could just be colored popsicles of like frozen juice, cold pressed juices. A virus diet.
Oh man, I hope that today's show tour, right? Oh, are you talking about couture? Because I don't understand couture when they come out and they wear like a paper mache hat and then like a giant garbage bag and then they're like, check this out. What is that all about?
Couture is supposed to be like the art of fashion. So it could literally be anything. It's like, when is it pop art or modern art where they're like, here's a toilet. Is this art or is it just a toilet on a pedestal? So it's like, I think it's that kind of idea. But couture is like a French government approved kind of like label, I guess. It's like there's only 10 couture houses left. And everything is made by hand, like all the stitching for the seams and all the closures and every single bead that's put on there is made by hand, or is put on there by hand. And so it's this very like involved and expensive process because most of the pieces are custom, but they range from expensive. So couture is like
That's a really expensive
everyone's dream.
garbage bag.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like interesting when you like the last big boom everybody knows about is Alexander McQueen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see his stuff on the runway and then go to one of his stores because you see all the fabrics that they use is like polyester. And polyester is not an expensive fabric. It can be sturdy. It can be like a higher quality. But I don't know that I'd pay like $500 for a polyester dress.
Right.
Or, you
Maybe
know, $2,000. Or, yeah.
They
like,
don't even do 50-50 blend? It's
They
just all
do, but it's like, it's also synthetic too. So it's like synthetic. I mean, they have natural fabrics as well. I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
to make it accessible, to make the designs accessible, the quality somewhere has to go down.
Now, when they make those paper mache helmets, how many do they sell? Did they only sell one? They only sell that one, or do they make a line of that?
They probably just have the one.
Does it influence the style?
It's all about having like something original, just one piece of that collection, and that's it. And they don't make any more.
Right. Huh.
It's very custom. So like
like an art collector kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My teachers would talk about like, oh, this piece is from 1989. You know, wherever I got this from, and they would wear it in class and everybody would be like, oh, let me touch it. Let me look at the seams. Let me look at the finishes.
Right. I would bring in like an 8th grade science fair project and be like, this was the highest form of art at one point.
I'm not gonna lie, not every student is cut out for fashion. There's a lot of people in my master's program that didn't know how to draw or sew. I didn't know how to sew when I started. Yeah. And so like some of us they taught from scratch and they did really well, and some people didn't and had to be talked down out of the program because they refused to give up.
and they were told, listen, you need to give up on the sewing.
Yeah.
Did you get what?
Oh, sorry. No, that was not me. I learned with bloody fingers and many hours.
Yeah. You've since become an expert sewer.
Oh, yeah. I don't tell people, though. Because once you tell people you can sew, everybody wants you to make stuff. And I'm lazy. I don't like making. Like, can I just draw it on paper and then you
make it?
Yeah, like I can draw all the closures and do all the stuff, but
now that's really interesting because that seems very like you have to have a mind where you could put things together in your mind before even committing it to like how do you even envision that? I
don't know how everyone else does it because they do like a front and back. Mm-hmm. You know, you have after a certain point they're like, here is something you can trace, like if you want. So a lot of people do end up tracing just the front and back of a figure. But like, because I had studied studio art for 2 years when I was in my undergrad. And so ever since I was little, I was like, I need to be able to visualize something and then commit it 2-dimensionally. And so that's always been my goal. And it took a long time just by myself because I didn't take any classes. I just did it for fun. So I would just spend hours visualizing, like closing my eyes and visualizing and then like sketching.
Mm, that's awesome.
Do it over and over. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the movie The Devil Wears Prada?
I did not. I don't like that stuff. It makes fashion. I mean, it is a good movie. We watched it as like art department and wardrobe watched it as inspiration for this one movie I did.
Which one?
Oh, man, I don't remember. It
It's
was
hard.
just like a throwaway Lifetime movie.
Right. That's the funny thing is, it's true. There's so many movies. After a while, it becomes a blur. It's just like there's so many movies. But what was the inspiration that you were trying to get from that movie?
So I was gonna watch for the clothes, and they were gonna watch for the environment. They're like, oh, this is what her desk looks like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what they wore in the '90s, you know. But we just got high and watched a movie as pretense to, you know, studying.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's the best inspiration.
Yes.
VJ asks.
So like that. Oh, go ahead.
No, wait. You can finish the thought, and then I'll.
No,
we'll get
I was
to a
gonna.
question.
Well, collaboration is super important. I feel like, and I don't know, being department head, it's hard when you don't have contact with other department heads or people like unwilling to share their own process.
Yeah.
So I just grope around in the dark as I go.
Right. Well, that's. I mean, as an artist, I imagine that's. You were saying earlier, it's just a lot of just doing and doing and doing until you got a process on how to get from A to Z. I guess. Is that accurate? VJ asks, is it difficult getting into design schools? Do you have to prove artistry?
Oh, my design school? No. There was only actually 2 schools with a master's program in fashion, and one of them was in the South, I think, and I don't know that I would have fared well there. But I came in with very little fashion knowledge.
Right.
But for some other art schools, I imagine their curriculum is rather strict.
Yeah. Do you have to draw like a picture of a dress? This is a dress. I would just draw this. Like this.
Well, my school was like, send in whatever you have. And if you don't, that's okay too. As long
we'll
as
take
you
it.
have money. Yeah. As long as you have money, you're in.
What does your money look like? Let's look at that.
Yeah.
So
there was
true.
a lot of like Chinese students for undergrad and grad school who would talk during critiques. And I don't generally speak in Chinese just because I don't want them to think I'm part of them. That's weird. But it's like
part of them.
They just start asking you weird shit, and you're like, my Chinese isn't good enough for this conversation.
Right.
But yeah, so I would tell them to like be quiet in English, and they wouldn't respond to me. And then I told them in Chinese, and they're like, oh my God. Like, she understands what we're saying. They weren't saying anything bad, but it was like, don't gossip about lunch.
Right.
Like, let's like get through this so we can go home.
Yeah. That's always like a nice thing to be able to do. Like I can understand a little bit. I can understand enough Spanish to like know what's going on when I hear, and then I could tell when people are speaking a lot of Spanish slang that they don't want you to know what they're saying. So I'm like, I can understand some of those words, and a lot of those are a lot of slang. Is there Chinese slang that people? I know a little Chinese. I learned a little tiny bit of Chinese when I was a kid. I had a friend. He could speak Cantonese, and he taught me how to count. That was about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh man, my Chinese is not that good. I can order food. I can describe food so that I can order what I need. But that's it. That's my main goal in another language, is to be able to order food.
That's really all you need.
Yeah. It'll get you started.
When I was in Spain, that's all I used my Spanish for. I was like, "Langonista, por favor."
Not with the ladies, or maybe that worked too.
They'd probably just laugh in my face. They'd say, "No gracias, señor." That would basically be it. That reminds me, I have OJ in the fridge. I should let him out. Oh, Ron Pertee says about our OJ conversation. Actually, Ron, keep him in there. We don't want him. We don't want him out.
Maybe.
What's a movie where you were just like blown away by the fashion style, the style choices? Because I feel like there have been a few movies where the style is just ridiculous, like in a good way.
Well, I'm a sci-fi nerd, so mine was when they redid the Star Trek, when
Oh yeah,
the
nice.
first Star Trek movie where I don't know any of the characters. Old Spock comes and he has this like hooded piece. It's like all cold outside. He has this hood that peels back in 3 pieces and sits on his shoulders.
I do know what you're talking about. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like the circle hood. I think it was like magnetic or something. And I love the way they streamline all the clothes, but I think that's very Star Trek. Like they kept it very you can tell the influence from the TV. They didn't just pull it out from nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. After that, the whole like pants tucked in boots look became very popular a couple years after that. No, I wouldn't say it was because of that movie, but
pants tucked in boots. That sounds I don't think I've done that.
Oh.
Actually, I've done it by accident. I'll usually have one pant leg stuck in one boot and one looking normal. And sometimes I'll even have my pants stuffed in my sock, which is not intentional, but you know, I'll just say it is if I get caught. I actually showed up to work one day and someone was kind enough to be like, "Pull your pants out, you suck." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And that was before I saw everybody, so that was nice of them.
Oh, yeah. That's a very...
Do you like the style in The Matrix?
Oh, that was way before I even thought about anything in particular.
That was before you were born.
Yeah, The Matrix, man, I hate leather trench coats. I hate shiny trench coats. I hate the leather trench coats in Harry Potter. They make me so angry. The new Harry Potters, the Beasts ones.
Oh, right.
I just cringe and my soul hurts.
Yeah.
But
do you like the overall design of the Fantastic Beasts aesthetic? Or
I do.
Yeah. It's just the long, shiny coats that are annoying.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder, because I don't know much about the history of leather treatment, but I feel like time-wise that was not available in that time period.
Right.
But I don't know. That's like super nerdy shit I don't talk about in public.
You can talk about it here, Shai. This is the right place to be talking about that kind of thing, actually. Anachronisms in style is not acceptable. What about Stranger Things?
I like Stranger Things. I'm not really familiar with the 80s. That's not my forte. I don't like all of these things would require me to do really detailed research. But I'm an immigrant to this country, so there's like a lot about Western culture that just is like over my head most of the time.
What's one of the things that really surprises you about Western culture that just wasn't on your radar until, like, say, relatively recently?
I wouldn't say it's like one thing. It would just be, for instance, I didn't know where the term inner tube came from. I just kept using it. Like, I know what it is. Yeah. But then my friend was like, "Oh yeah, you just need a giant, we just need to break down a giant tire. And then you can take the inner tube to go tubing." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are we talking about tires?" He's like, "No, that's where the inner tube comes from." Yeah. But I do remember taking apart a bicycle tire. Because they have little tubes, I think, inside the bicycle tire. So yeah, I was just like, oh, I didn't.
There are so many things that surprise me all of the time, very similarly, where I was like, oh, well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just feel, it's like a normal, now that we're just like, we just don't have the brain space to process every little thing that everybody knows all the time.
Yeah. There are some words that, like, that, there's a few. You know, there's certain things that surprise me culturally, just randomly, like White Claw. Like the drink White Claw. Is that always been a thing? It feels like it just snuck up on us that everybody's drinking
Yeah.
White Claw all of a sudden. Have I missed that my whole life, or did that just show up?
I also feel the same way recently. It's like, what is this brand that's happening? Like, have I
Yeah.
been out of the game for so long? Like,
I feel like
is
I'm
it
the
like
last
a
person
Four
on earth.
Loko style phrase? Or like Four Loko style craze where it's like, are we going to be making jokes about it? Is it hardcore enough?
Yeah. I feel like it's just so lightweight. It's such a thing that it's almost innocuous, that I almost feel like it's just always been there forever, and I'm just starting to see that it's like the movie They Live. Did you ever see the movie They Live, where the Rowdy Roddy Piper puts on the glasses, and then everybody's got like they've got like the crazy alien face? He's like, what? He puts on glasses and he can read a billboard and it says like obey, but then he pulls up the glasses and it's like a shampoo advertisement or something like that. You should see this movie. It's incredible. It's John Carpenter. It's from the 80s, and it has the longest fight scene in the history of fight scenes. Do you have a favorite director?
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's an Asian director, but I don't know that his work is good.
Who is it?
Wong Kar-wai. He did In the Mood for Love, 2046. He has his actors like ad-lib most of their scenes. He'll give them like direction, and then he'll be like, "This is what's happening. Respond appropriately." And
Right.
and like some of
say
the
words,
scenes,
but don't get me angry.
are speaking in two different languages to each other because they're encouraged to use like their native tongue to act.
That's really interesting. What movies does he like? What are the titles?
2046, I think. Oh God, I could be
2046.
so wrong. I might have to Google it. In the Mood for Love, the Nanking Express.
Ron
Wow.
Pertee says, "In the Mood for Love is the most romantic movie that will ever make you slit your wrists." Is that true?
I don't even remember it. But yeah, a lot of his movies are like these really drawn out scenes where there's a lot of like, what's that word? Tension, a lot of sexual tension or romantic tension happening.
Right.
And it's always this like Spanish guitar music. And it's
my guitar's over there. I was gonna.
It's very
Gonna
like
play
a
dramatic.
longing, like, oh, so sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lovely.
It's just very dramatic, very like, don't leave me, please. don't
Yeah.
leave." I'm saying this with like a Spanish accent because I imagine the Spanish music. So it's just Spanish guitar, but it's in
There's
Chinese.
a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes
I
they'll
like it.
have people speaking Cantonese and Mandarin, although you can't, like, in real life, you wouldn't really be able to understand each other if you didn't speak both.
That's interesting. Do you speak both?
I speak Mandarin. Cantonese is a little harder. I grew up speaking Cantonese, but my dad didn't. So I didn't come to America until I was 6. My parents came here first. So living with my
They
grandparents.
left you in China?
They left me. Yeah. Yeah. So like I spoke Cantonese, and then in the summer I'd go to the farm and I'd speak this like crazy local dialect. So I'd come back to school and then I'd have to relearn Cantonese because I'd forgotten
Really?
how to speak it.
Wow.
And then yeah, and so when I was 6 and I came to America, my dad didn't speak Cantonese, so I had to only speak Mandarin. And then I was like, yeah, but I learned it from you. Like like my language skills
Yeah.
were not learned in school or practiced at home. Like all my Mandarin is learned from both my parents and maybe
Right.
Chinese school. But I was like, this is not my fault.
It's definitely, yeah, they're like, where did you learn that? You're like, well, it's where I learned from you. So where else am I going to learn this?
Yeah, where are all these other Chinese people that are supposed to teach me?
That's hilarious. In the mood for Ron Purdy says, in the mood for love is about two couples. One member of each couple is cheating with another member of the other couple, and then the other two fall in love but won't act on it because they are still married. Wow, they should just form a throuple plus one, right? Is that how it works?
Oh yeah.
What are some of the other?
This one. So it's supposed. So technically, not technically, but that "In the Mood for Love" I think is movie number 2 in the sequence of movies that he created. I think 2046 comes after "In the Mood for Love," and it follows the story. God, I could be so wrong. It follows the story of the male lead in "The Mood for Love," played by Tony Leung. They call him Lightning Eyes in China because his eyes shine so brightly and he's so hot. Um,
And he could shoot lightning out of his eyes.
Yeah, God, superpower man. Yeah, and so it follows him, and he's like writing this story. It's like a futuristic. So the movie itself is split between his like weird imagination story that happens in the future. It happens on this train that never stops. And then in real life, he's like had separated from his wife and is being kind of seduced by this younger woman. But yeah, I don't know. The story happens when on the train with this like android. And I can't remember what happens, but I vaguely remember thinking like she's so old, her core processes are much slower, so like she doesn't realize that she's in love with him until he's gone.
Oh
Something
no.
I remember thinking that, or hypothesizing about it because it's not very clear what happens, but
Right.
yeah.
I
And
want
it's
to see
really
it
beautiful.
just because there's an android. You mentioned an android.
Yeah, it's very
Sounds cool to
beautiful.
me.
That
Yeah.
one has the prettiest, like it's shot so beautifully and lit really well. And every single like scene is like it's perfectly framed.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is with? I feel like American cinema loses a lot of the sense of artistry, the sense of cinematography in a lot of film these days. Over here on YouTube, let's see. I'm gonna catch up with a lot of these comments. People have been chatting, and I've been missing it. They live. They mentioned Blurred Words mentions that they live, and no trench coats. That's the coolness staple. Morpheus.
I know.
What?
I know. People love trench coats.
Blurred Words is upset. It's like, this is what you need. You need a trench coat to be cool. It was the 90s.
It was the 90s indeed. Yeah, man. I remember seeing kids wearing, Matrix clothes after that, being all hardcore. But then didn't they make a parody movie or a parody character of
the Matrix?
Of the Matrix?
Probably.
I can't remember.
If
but
you guys
I would
let us know.
Literally see dudes walk down the neighborhood in like 110 degrees, the middle of summer in Tucson. Yeah, in a fucking trench coat. And I was like, what? I don't know. America's weird.
What is up? It is hot out there. It is not a practical outfit. You need to figure out your style better, mister. Vidre says it doesn't need to be shiny. But yeah, shiny seems to be the the aesthetic. I'm even thinking about John Cusack in Say Anything. He's got a trench coat on. Everybody's got a trench coat from the 80s to the 90s.
Oh, the 80s ones are nice. But they're very ill-fitted, like, for your body.
The shoulder pads and stuff.
Yeah, they're like I bought one for $1 at Goodwill one time.
That's all they're worth.
I know, it's so sad, but it was great. It was like a very light, large cardigan for me. Wore it as a robe. But
overall, what's your opinion on shoulder pads?
I like them. They're good for structure. The 80s shoulder pads are a little bit more pronounced, but any custom or like fitted piece of clothes, like a jacket, outerwear, should be padded in the shoulders. Yeah, and those should only be steamed and never ironed.
I was just watching Robocop. Did you ever see Robocop?
I've seen, yeah, I know of it.
It's filmed in the 80s, but it's supposed to take place in the future. Probably about like 10 or 15 years from now, it should take place. But there's like so much shoulder pads going on in that movie that it's almost like they weren't aware of the shoulder pads at the time. It was just such a common thing to wear.
I don't know what the history behind shoulder pads is, but I have a feeling. Okay, so you asked me a while who decides what's in, right? Like, how do they decide?
Yeah.
There's in America, they're called the Council of CFDA.
Trench coats.
Fashion Designers Association or something. The CFDA. Mm-hmm. I could be totally wrong. This is like years ago. But they're still around. So it's basically Anna Wintour, the editor of Vogue, and like other people, this like large black man. I don't know any of their names. I just know that this is what they do.
I'm picturing the three most important people in the world in the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. If you haven't seen that, it's just three floating figures, and they're just and they have giant shoulder pads also.
These people, yeah, they definitely have imaginary giant shoulder pads because they are worshipped, and it's like shoulder pads are a sign of power, I think, in the 80s.
They got shoulder pad energy.
Yeah, big shoulder pad energy. So they basically decide the trends and colors and stuff. Like fashion houses will go and meet with Anna Wintour, and she'll be like, they'll show her their lineup before the collection is shown, and she'll go through and be like, I don't like this one doesn't fit, I like this, but maybe not the color, or, and we're encouraged to study Pantone colors. Every season, Pantone releases new colors, and you are encouraged to look through all of them. Yeah. And base your new collection or your seasonal collection on that palette. Yeah. I mean, it can also be different from like, depending on what your inspiration is, you can pull colors from your inspiration. There's a lot of different methods in determining like what your color story is going to be. But yeah, Pantone is like a big deal for us.
This is what I want. This is what I want to talk about. Now, Pantone, who is Mr. Pantone? Who is this guy that tells you what colors to wear?
It's like, and the book is so expensive, and it's literally a book of like colors. Every single color that a computer can print. And I'm like, okay, why is this book $150?
And it comes out every year?
I don't know about the book, but I do know they release new colors twice a year, I believe.
And this this helps dictate the current palette of the era.
Yeah, so every season they'll have new palettes. You notice like a while ago, mustard became a big color and it stayed around. And then like copper became a big color. But yeah, like I wouldn't say fast fashion. Fast fashion, like Forever 21, Zara, H&M, like they also kind of follow the same trends because they know what's gonna sell.
Right.
But like H&M has their own standard um, color format that all their clothes are produced in.
So you can tell who's wearing H&M versus some other just by the color palette from that year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned colored story. Now there's a color story, I would say, in a show like Breaking Bad. Did you watch Breaking Bad? Or
Yes.
so it was very deliberate seeming. I mean, obviously Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, came out and was like, "Yeah, we actually changed the palette of the characters every season to reflect that part of their character arc." So like Bryan Cranston started out very light colored yellows and very pale yellows and white colors. His name's Walter White, and then he started gradually becoming like darker throughout the show, and there's actual color palettes that you can follow for each season. And now I've noticed when I am, hey guys, on Instagram, if you want to continue the conversation, jump over to twitch.tv/Aristotle Full Throttle or go to aristotlefullthrottle.com. We've got about 30 seconds left on Instagram, but we're going to keep talking about color palettes because I noticed that when I get called for like a thing, if I get booked on a show as an actor, they're like, here are sample colors of what to bring as an example to the palette of the show that we're shooting. Now, how does this work? Walk us through this process.
I have never been honored with this process, but I dream about it. So, so basically, it's done.
Yeah,
Thank God, I can stop doing that.
Were you holding it the whole time?
I couldn't get it to stay, so I had to hold it with my hand.
Oh no.
So basically, you have to. Oh, that's the wrong one. You have to coordinate with art department, right? So I don't know what exactly the process would be, but like art department will have a vision, and they will decide a color palette for their furniture depending on what style and whatever. And so if you could coordinate with art department, you can set like certain color palettes for your actors. You can decide, what, if you want to wash them out, if you want them to stand out, or if you want, whatever. Lucky Number 11 is a great example of a movie that is completely...
Wait, time out. Is it a great example of a movie?
Great example of a movie where wardrobe and art department are like completely coordinated.
Right, fair enough.
Oh, did you not like it? Am I not supposed to like it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard mixed things. I heard it's not bad. It's got Harrison Ford and this dude I went to college with named Josh Hartnett in it.
It also has Lucy Liu in it.
Oh yeah. It's from like a while ago. It's from like
it's not like an amazing movie in terms of plot.
Yeah.
But it's entertaining for sure. Like it's not horrible.
I'll check it out. I was just poking fun at.
It's visually worth it. I'll say that.
I heard good things about it. And so that's a great example of showing how
they tried to have me do that for the series that I worked on. They're like, we want you to coordinate wardrobe with art department, and I was like, number one, your budget's not big enough.
You got to pay me more for that because it's
number two, you're gonna have to send me some renderings of these sets because they're not built and I don't know what colors. And then they just never sent it. So I was like, dollar store, Hawaiian shirts it is.
That's fair. I mean, that's another thing that a lot of movie making is tough. It's also very expensive. My goal, if and when I ever produce anything bigger than the Aristotle Full Throttle show, is to always compensate the creators involved, because those are the people. You want to pay the people who are doing the thing. A lot of times people want to cut costs, and they cut costs on the people. And I never would do that, because you won't, that's the talent. Those are the people who are bringing whatever it is to life. And so if they're not going to pay you to do all of that extra, use all of that other part of your skill set, you know, it's not very justifiable. It's a tough business in that sense.
It is. And I agree with that. Unfortunately, I've worked with some people who, it's really weird because they're also actors. Like, this guy is a really well-known actor, but he was directing this music video. And we had gone over 2 hours, and I was like, guys, I gotta go. Like, I gotta work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting overtime or like more than just flat rate. And so he was like, you know, we're all working professionals and we all have to work tomorrow. And I was like, are you telling me you're never going to hire me again? Because I don't want to come back. Like,
sometimes
I don't want to work for somebody who has that like cognitive dissonance in there. Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best decision you can make, is to decide certain people that you're like, oh, well, now I know never to work with this person again, because they don't consider other people in enough ways. There's a person I will never work for again. I've worked for maybe like 3 or 4 times. And this guy, the things that he would do, like, he had us one time, we were going to go shoot an event, a televised event, as a photographer. And he had us show up 3 hours early at his warehouse to set up all of the equipment and to show him that we knew how to use cameras first, and then break everything down. And then I was like, you know, I really don't need someone to test whether or not I can be a photographer, which was like, it was one of the most belittling, like, very condescending. And I was like,
yeah.
And I was just like very friendly with the guy. I was like, yeah, hey, so you literally want us to set up this gear in front of you? You want to watch us set up the gear?
Was he paying you to set up, or was this just like
It was just a flat rate day, but the idea that this guy did not, and I'd worked with this guy a couple other times as a photographer, and I'd been working for years as a photographer.
Yeah.
And to have this guy be like, I need to see everybody use, it was just like, all right, guy, I'm never working for you again, because clearly you have control issues, and I don't want to be a part of that. But
yeah, like, somebody must have done something to him, or something traumatic must have happened. That is really condescending.
Super condescending. I would never sit there and, like, you know, I mean, photographer is a certain position, but like, if I were to like hang over as a producer or something, someone setting up the craft service table being like, let me make sure that you know where the coffee goes.
Yeah, Cheetos can't be next to the carrots. It'll confuse people.
There are some producers, though, I'm sure you've seen, like, they micromanage, and you're just like, get out of here with your micromanaging.
Yeah.
Ron Pertee says, all my clothes are ill-fitted because I'm in between sizes.
It's okay. I don't have, people always think that just because you do wardrobe, and I'm sure a lot of wardrobe people do fall into this category, but they're always like, am I gonna look good in this? Or like, what should I wear? Or like, what? It's all very, you know, like, can you go shopping with me? And I'm like, I don't, like, that's not my philosophy when it comes to fashion. My philosophy is wear what makes you comfortable and wear what makes you feel the most confident.
Right.
Because ultimately that confidence is what matters.
Right. That's a really important point that you're making. It's really important to feel good about what you're wearing. And not just like think that if I wear this, then I will be cool. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's true. I'd have to the Goodwill and it took me a while to figure out what was gonna what was gonna make me feel good. And there's a lot of bad eras of style. Don't go googling it, people. But there's some really sad
it's
eras.
hard too because like I took this one camera guy shopping one time and he thought I was just gonna pick out clothes for him. And I was like, but I don't know all the stuff that's going on in your head. Like I can design for a character because that's on the surface and psychologically it makes sense. But like a real person, like I can convince you like I can be a good salesman, but I don't want it. I want this piece of clothes that you like to last you for a long time and to like give you a sense of self, I think. And so we went and got ice cream and I made him go to the Gap.
That sounds like a nice day at the mall.
Yeah, ice cream twice actually. But yeah, so it was kind of like teaching somebody how to shop for themselves.
That's a really good thing to do for somebody.
I hope so. Yeah. I try
and
to teach because women like to be like, what do you think? And I'm like, does it matter what I think? I think it matters what you think.
Right.
Because you're going to be the one strutting and I'm just going to be the bystander. Like,
but you got that magic touch where you're like, maybe try this on, and then boom.
Yeah.
Someone's like, how did you know, Shy? You knew it.
I do.
What's the craziest costume or wardrobe that you have ever had to dress someone in?
Craziest. I don't know that I have an answer to that. All the movies I've done are relatively calm. Like I guess when blood is involved, that's really fun for me.
Real blood. Actual blood.
Yes. We prefer it to be as realistic as possible. I don't know. There's two sides to everything. Because as much as I love making the clothes look realistically, like torn and dirty, it's also hard to maintain. Because generally these are lower budget films where you're not allowed the time or the resources to really like make it work.
Right.
So you're constantly having to like, oh, I'm going to color this in with a marker. Like this came out during the wash. I gotta dab some dirt on there.
Yeah, just to match. How do you do the continuity? You use is there a program? I know there might be are there programs that you use for iPad or iPhone or?
They're so horrible. They are like just as bad as any 90s program where it's they're getting better. I'm not gonna just shit on it. They're getting better, but it's not like you can just take a photo and be like, I want to share it to this app on this. You still have to enter in every scene number manually and every scene manually, and then afterward you have this entire continuity book that's thicker than the script because every scene has its own page, and it's just. I just can't. I can't.
It's a headache.
I'm not a fucking accountant.
What about back in the day when they used to take Polaroids and have this big key ring, this big ring? Did you ever do that?
I love that. For the series that I did, I was like, we're not using apps. I don't have the time to learn, and I don't care. And I could do what they were like, we don't care. You can do whatever you want because we're not integrated yet for everybody to use the same app. Because there is one where everybody shares their stuff on it, and I hate it. I hate it. Ooh. Yeah. But yeah, so I made this this book of just pictures with colored notes, like a high school. I was like, this is gonna be stupid fun. So I had everybody write the scenes in a different color, and it was it was like a scrapbook.
Right.
I I don't care for continuity books. I think finding a way for you to keep continuity is better than like having to figure out how to use this new software that may or may not work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blurred Word says, "This is interesting, Frobro. I want to know about the large black man who tells us what to wear."
Oh,
Anna Wintour.
His clothes are so, I don't want to be racist. They're very like African centric. And he's a very tall, big man. He's always super colors, and sometimes he wears these like flowy, big, I don't want to say moo-moo, but it's basically a moo-moo, and he's very wonderful to look at. And he's British, I think. So
what's his name? Do you know his name, or?
I can Google it.
Anna Wintour and this guy are like the czars of the new style. Is that?
Yeah.
Guys, if you have any questions for Shy, let us know. Also, if you're on like YouTube and whatnot, push the like button. Just go ahead and do that. Leave a comment. Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to say too is that movies are shot out of sequence. Yes. So that is the dreaded enemy of the wardrobe phases, especially if you're like, because then you could be going from one scene to the next that has like no, like on script, it has no continuity issues, but then you have to change an actor in the middle and you got to change their makeup and you got to change. It's like, I don't know. I want to know how they do it on bigger productions. Because on camera, you know, it's edited to where you don't notice that there's like a big shift visually. So
now, what would be an example of a scene like that would shift over?
I don't have any off the top of my head, but I'd say something like Mad Max Fury Road would probably have clothes in phases, because I think those ladies in white, I think they all go through some heavy physical stuff in the film. But there are like, for instance, Ender's Game was shot in sequence, but that's because the kids were growing taller. But I don't know. I think that's one of the very few movies that was shot in sequence. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know who decided those rules. I think they're weird.
I think, you know, it's funny when you say that the kids were growing during the filming of that. There was that movie Boyhood where they filmed it over 12 years and the kid grows throughout the movie. And I was just like, don't you just get the same effect by watching all of the Harry Potter movies?
Yeah.
It's just like, just watch all the Harry Potters. You get the same, edit it down to one. You'll watch Harry Potter grow. Let's see. Trench coats. But does he wear trench coats? I think the African guy, or the guy who's African, the British guy who dresses in an African aesthetic, I don't know, is that a trench coat? Is it, would that be considered?
Perhaps if it were silk, I think. Or
That's
like a
the
nice wool.
That's the only type of trench coat that Shy will accept, is a silk trench coat.
It's called Council of Fashion Designers of America is what it's called, the CFDA.
And they've got the authority to tell us what to wear.
A little, yeah. The majority of it goes to them. They also give out like awards and stuff, and what you call it?
Now, is RuPaul on that council?
I wish.
I feel like RuPaul is a fashion icon, right?
RuPaul is so,
because he's got
like,
the song
so
that you better work.
Yeah, I feel like anything that he says is just,
He's a cultural icon. While you're looking that up, if you guys have any questions for Shy, let us know. If you have any questions about the mystery of filmmaking, the craziness that goes on behind the scenes, we might be able to answer those questions, because movies is weird. They're like, it's like herding cats. It's you get there in the morning on a set. I've mentioned this before, but it's you get there the first day, day one, a lot of people, a lot of different departments and stuff, they've never met until that day. And then you're all kind of trying to make the same thing. And I always find that a funny conundrum, a funny situation to be
Yeah,
in.
I don't like it when it's like that. I love when people can like meet before and just like get to know each other and your aesthetics, and then oh, I forgot. I'm stoned, I promise.
It's okay if you are. It's totally legal.
Oh, I found the guy's name though. He is called Andre Leon Talley.
Andre. Of course his name is Andre. I just feel like that's just
The one.
It's a nice name, but it's also like, my name is Andre. It should be Andres, because that's just a little bit extra. My name is Andres.
Images. Yes, I like to talk to the camera guys, and also I like to know who's editing, because then I can look at the work and be like, what kind of editor is this person? How is this person gonna fuck my clothes? Or like, I want to know if they're gonna color grade. That's a big issue for me. I know people don't think about that, but I'm very, like, I want the clothes to be noticeable enough to be in the environment.
Yeah.
And memorable enough to be part of the scene. Or not memorable. Like, it's great if you don't notice anything's wrong with the scene.
Right. Like, it just fits so perfectly with it. I once saw a terrible, terrible movie. It was like the worst movie I've ever, literally the worst movie I've ever seen. And it was at I went to the premiere because I was invited, because it was a friend of a cousin or something like that who directed this movie. And there were 200 people in the audience, and it was a terrible horror movie that this guy got the money to direct somehow.
What was it?
I'll tell you the name of the movie because it's terrible. It's called Escape Room. And it's not the Escape Room. Another movie named Escape Room came out that same year. So it's the other one. And this movie was so bad because, and I noticed the wardrobe. The people in the very beginning of the movie are all at dinner. And they're at like I don't know, they were at like a Denny's. Not like a Denny's, but it was like, you know, it could have been like a Cracker Barrel or something like that. It was not a fancy restaurant. Yet every single actor in the scene was impeccably dressed as if they were in evening wear attire. Like, they had like diamond earrings in, suits, and they were, the environment and their character did not match the wardrobe. The wardrobe was just over the top and made no sense. And they were all perfectly, like, you know how in The Matrix it was very deliberate that they were all super sleek?
Yeah.
This scene was setting up the characters, but all it did for me was go, these people are annoying and privileged, and I can't wait to watch them all die.
Yeah, like, they probably wouldn't even be eating at that restaurant in real life if they dressed like that. Yeah.
And it totally stood out.
The history of that kind of dining area, like the Red Lobster, that all came from high dining. So they wanted to provide an environment that replicated high dining but was accessible to the general public. Yeah, I know a lot about food. So that's why, like, the Red Lobsters and the Chili's and all those restaurants kind of look the same.
Ah.
Because one of the first major, I don't remember what the restaurant's called, but one of the first major restaurants that was like really big and open to the public, but also for people with money. Yeah. Pick your own patties. But yeah, so that's where that kind of style comes from.
That's fascinating. We learn stuff every day here on Aristotle Full Throttle. And Shai has just graced us with her knowledge. Also, Anja O says, quote, "I'm not stoned, I promised. I promise. Shai 2020. That's a shirt.
That's a rare one, by
That's
the
a shirt.
way.
Yeah. I'm not stoned, I promise. Let's see. Blurred Word says, I apologize if you spoke on this earlier. How did Shy get started in movie fashion? If so, what was the toughest movie gig fashion-wise? I think we kind of talked about that, but briefly, refresh our memory about...
I just don't. Studying fashion was really hard. I don't like the waste associated with the industry, with the mass production of the industry.
Yeah.
And I love couture, so I was like, what is something I can do that is less wasteful, more custom, and like the clothes will only be worn one time. So film was and I had no idea what to do. Like I kind of helped out in the film department when I was still in school, but I was like, I'm just gonna move. I got an internship at Conan, and I was like,
well, that's cool.
Gonna finish online. So I moved to LA and finished online that semester and interned at the same time. But I just worked for free until somebody liked me enough to hire me and give me a chance, and that's
right.
And then I just never stopped working after that.
Well, that's because you're so likable and hireable and you're great at your job, Shy. This is why people like you. I got to tell you, when I first met Shy, it was just, like I mentioned this before. When I first saw you on set, I was like, she's cool. I'm going to go talk and hang out with Shy's little, like she's got like everybody likes Shy. Everybody wants to talk to Shy. She's the life of the party on set. She keeps the morale up, and it's very nice. What was the hardest gig? What's the toughest
The hardest gig, man? That'd have to be the series. The Swedish Dicks is what it's called.
Swedish Dicks.
Swedish Dicks. It's a comedy about private detectives.
It better be.
In case people forgot, private detectives are nicknamed Dicks, like the movie Dick Tracy. I had people like question that, and I was like, dude, I'm not American. I don't know why Richard is called Dick.
Yeah.
But it's probably one of those things. So yeah, and it was hard.
Richard is long for Dick.
I had only 10 grand to design 10 episodes.
Wow.
And it was like 50 days shooting.
50?
Maybe a little bit more. 50
so
days.
That's 2 episodes every 10 days? Is that right? Wait, how does that work?
Yeah, it was like, we'd shoot like 2... I can't remember if we did 1 episode at a time or 2 episodes at a time.
Right.
I think it was 1 at a time. It was like their first kind of bigger production, so they were just trying things out. We did end up having quite a bit of reshoots too.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it was like 2 weeks an episode, a week an episode, something like that.
Yeah.
It was hard. I kind of lost my mind on that show. I was like sleeping like 4 hours a night for like 3 months.
Yeah. And let's remind the folks who maybe haven't worked on film sets or indie films or anything like that. It's like long ass days. It's 12.5 hour minimum usually. And sometimes you go over because you didn't get the shot. And then, that costs the production. And I remember working in Manhattan on the first movies that I worked on as a PA, and I would be working 14 hours a day and also driving 1 hour there and 1 hour home. Because sometimes I would have to, as a PA, drive to a location, pick up a truck, an actual production truck vehicle, and then bring that to set in Manhattan. And I got 4 hours of sleep a night for probably 6 months because I worked on like 3 or 4 features back to back.
PAs work the hardest though. Like,
yes,
I think everybody should be a PA. I see
Absolutely.
people being mean to PAs, and it makes me really uncomfortable. I have to go over because it's just not fair. Like, without PAs, nobody's gonna pick up your water bottles, and then you're not gonna be able to shoot. So
yeah. Well, I was
simple.
That's the joke is like, what's the difference between a PA, production assistant, and a dog? Most people are afraid to kick a dog.
True. It's true. You gotta, it's a very, that position will filter out people quickly, I think, who don't have the nerve to do it. So.
It's weird. It's the strangest thing to me is when PAs are a PA for more, like I was a PA once and then I did like the key PA, and those are the only 2 times I ever did PA because it's hard. It's very, very hard.
It's hard.
And when I see someone who's been a PA for like 5 or 6 years, I'm like, bless you.
Are you on a career track to something? Like it must lead to something better.
I think eventually you can become an AD. So you kind of study, you become like a second, a second, and then an AD as a career trajectory. And the AD is the person on set who I feel like you can never live past 40 if you're an AD. Like they are the most stressed out human being you will ever meet. They're like, they don't sleep. They, from the moment you're in, which is the day the day starts. When you're in,
you land and you start. Like you don't.
Their brain does not shut off for the whole entire day. Maybe lunch for like a half hour, but even then they're working with the director on what they're going to do for the second half of the day, which is insane.
Yeah, I don't envy them. They are very. But I like that they keep us on schedule. Like that's one of the things I found out working in film was I like knowing what's happening. I like showing up and knowing what we're gonna do. And I tried that once in real life with my parents, and they were just like, "You're too American." They're like, "You do know who you're speaking to? Like you're speaking to your mom, and I am your dad, and you don't say these things." I was just like, what time are we leaving? What should I like, is this a fancy event?
Don't ask questions.
Where are we eating? Yeah. I was like, what's the food situation? And they're just like, you need to stop. You're too American with your questions. And I was like, is this racist? I don't know.
Get your evening gown on. We're going to Fuddruckers. I need to know what to wear. It's true, though. Like the AD, if they're a good AD, if they're worth their weight, you know every single moment of the day what's happening, where you're going, like how far away you are from what the next thing is. It's a really important position, and my heart goes out to anybody who ADs, because that job is the most stressful job, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always listen to them because they're like parents. We call them adults, right, on set. Anytime anything happens, you got to call for an adult. That's what I do. We need an adult
to fix this. My favorite ADs are the ones who who do the thing in the morning. They stand in doorways. They're always standing in the spot where you want to go. That's actually my job as a photographer.
Yeah.
I have to do constantly. Like I'm always like looking ahead to see where everybody's going, because inevitably I'm always standing in the exact spot where everyone needs to go. They're like, "Hey buddy, we need to be right there." And I'm like, "Okay, you got it." But you know, that's with crews I don't know. Like usually, since we were like kind of a big family over at LLP, everybody knew each other and it was always very friendly and nice. But yeah, ADs, it's a tough job. I wouldn't want to do it. I feel like they all die young. Pour one out to the ADs.
I have this rule on set where if I go to the bathroom, I have to tell somebody, especially if it's like at night before wrap or during, like I've been locked in those porta potties twice.
You were locked in the porta potty?
Yes.
Oh no.
Like
Twice.
The first time we were rapping and it was loud, so I thought he'd heard me. Like the guy
came
and checked. No, there was a window, thank God, in the door. Not only was my stall door stuck, I had to like climb out of the stall, and then I realized the door was locked, And so I cracked the window and started screaming for help. And nobody heard me for like
Oh, no.
minutes. Nobody heard me. And then my boss walked by. And I was like, Michelle, they locked me in here. And so she had to go find transpo, and they had to put the ladder down and undo the door and everything. And then I had to tell them I broke the stall door and crawled out of it. And so, yeah, so after that, I was like, I'm always going to tell somebody.
Always tell them.
Yeah. But then it was hard
10-1.
to tell if they were messing with me, because sometimes they knew I was in there and they would just start locking stuff up. But sometimes they did not know I was in there.
Oh, no. And you were stuck in there for weeks. One time this was at a Warped Tour event that I was lucky enough to play, but it was early in the morning. We loaded in, and we loaded our gear in, and we're backstage, and there's nobody there yet because they haven't opened. It's like 9 a.m. It's like 8 or 9 a.m. And I was in a porta potty peeing, and I swear this guy must have done this on purpose. No. Like I was in like a random, like I'm in there, and then all of a sudden it just goes, like the whole thing just got rocked.
Oh my god!
And then like I came out of the porta potty, and there was a dude driving a forklift, and I know he did that on purpose. He must have been doing it on. He did it on purpose. He hit the porta potty. He was like, "I'm gonna hit this guy with skinny jeans who I just saw going to the porta potty."
That would make
I don't blame him. If I saw me with the skinny jeans on, I would have been like, I'm just going to go troll this guy for a minute in the porta potty.
Right, and you're so tall, so your legs must have been like, what an interesting silhouette you must have made to him.
Yeah, that guy, I don't know. Well, speaking on this note,
I'm going to land on the brown note because that's generally what I do.
Land on the brown note. Thank you guys so much for joining us, me and Shy, just talking about inside baseball, about movie making, and how the sausage is made. And Shy is a talented artist in her own right, and has been working on films and movies and doing a wardrobe for as long as she has. And we appreciate it. We appreciate the job that you do, because the movies, it just makes the movie experience that much better. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. What a joy.
This is so much fun. You're always welcome back.
Oh, thank you. You have the best guests. I love them all so far.
Well, thank you for being the best guests.
Best guest.
The best guest ever. Every day we have the best guest ever. And today, Shy, you are the best guest ever.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back with Christine Barger. She is the puppet girl on all the different platforms. And we're going to talk about puppetry. Cool stuff.
Yes.
And
awesome.
Shy, you're awesome. You rock.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching.
See you later.
I'm Aristotle, Full Throttle. You're in the know with the fro. I'll see you tomorrow.